So between October 1st through the 3rd, I was attending the second annual AnimeOklahoma. The original happened in 2019, and obviously due to the pandemic, the second one was postponed till this year. And we're very fortunate that it even happened this year because there were a lot of conventions that ended up canceling anyways. But this one still happened because it was later in the year. Now, I want to make this video a little different than usual. So for the first segment, I'm going to talk about AnimeOklahoma because I'm from Oklahoma and I kind of want to share that love and talk about what we have going on within our community. But I also, don't want to be dismissive to like the 100+ subscribers I have that are not from Oklahoma. So I think this is a good time to have a conversation about small conventions. And I'm going to just take a moment to tell you why, despite me going to as many conventions as I have and big conventions, I still enjoy going to the small ones. So obviously it's been a long time since I've talked about conventions on this channel. I will say this though, if you are in fact not interested in this sort of content, please let me know in the comment section below. And also, if you are in fact interested and want to know more, please let me know in the comment section as well, because I do enjoy talking about conventions. I've been going for a long time, but I also don't want to just spend time on stuff that maybe my audience really isn't interested in. So just let me know and I'll do what I can to make adjustments. And like I said, if you are in fact interested, in fact, I do have a video. If you've never been to a convention and you're interested in going, especially now after all the stuff with the pandemic, I give you tips and advice and suggestions on what you should do in order to prepare for a convention. It's old and there's a lot of pauses and ums and ahs, but you know what? I still like that video. I think I gave solid advice and I think it can help a lot of people. And also, I just want to put this out there that yes, I typically do talk about anime conventions on this channel, but I just want you to be aware that this information, especially on the second half of the video, this pertains to any kind of convention. So it can be a comic convention, so it doesn't matter. But I just have a preference toward anime conventions, and I can't wait, for next year and the years in the future to see even more conventions, go to hopefully some gaming conventions soon. So with that out of the way, let's take a moment to talk about AnimeOklahoma in 2021, as well as why you should consider going to small anime conventions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am Ryofu and you are watching The Gaming Harbinger. So AnimeOklahoma 2021. We're very lucky and fortunate it even happened. So AnimeOklahoma 2021 had a lot of solid things going for it. For one, they had a really good DJ. They had several different tournaments that were going on. And they also had a cosplay contest, a dealer's room. They had a comedian. They had the original English voice actor for Chi-Chi, the original English voice actor for Bulma, and young Goku.
I have to be friends with this little brat over here so that I can get around and get all the rest of the Dragon Balls.
Can I get in the bathtub too?
You dirty little boy!
Where's your tail?
I don't have a tail.
Well, I thought everyone had one.
Girls don't have tails.
It's really no big deal.
Now, one thing that I noticed they didn't have was they didn't have a video room. And I actually think this is essential, but due to like the size of the convention and everything, I think this is acceptable and it's okay that they didn't have one. But I think like the whole video room thing is like perfect for people that want to chill and there's not much going on and they can just hang back in the room, watch a few things, and then they're like, okay, now there's a panel I want to go to, or there's the cosplay contest or whatever. So due to the nature of the convention and the size of it, I did run into some weird inconsistencies. And for example, there were panels that I went to where it was like 2 or 3 people, and then I'd go to another panel and there's like 15 people there. And obviously even 15 sounds like a low number, but actually for the size of the convention, I don't think it's that shocking, because you have to think about it. Everybody's spread thin, you know, there's tournaments going on, there's the dealer's room, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and people are going to be spread thin. And then you have to think too, there could be panels going on that they're just not interested in, and that's going to happen. And I most certainly don't think it was necessary for them to scale down. I think it was perfect what they had, because people that heard about this convention later on down the road, if they're like, oh man, there was a convention I just missed and it was in my town, okay, I should have checked it out. Well, next year I'll be there. Also with Oklahoma City, we had a huge loss. I believe it was 2018 with AzumiCon, and I'm not going to go into the details of that. People that live in the area are aware of the situation, but pretty much AzumiCon was this convention that had been around, I want to say close to a decade, maybe a little more than that. And when it went away, it was tragic, and it shouldn't have happened the way it did. But now we have people here, AnimeOklahoma, that's trying to rebuild the scene. I think it's actually a very beautiful thing. It's something that I really hope they're able to pull off successfully. And we will see in the upcoming years if they're able to pull it off. But it's going to take time. Aside from the lack of a viewing room, my only real critique is that I wasn't even aware that they were using, I think it's called Fanguru, and that's an app where a lot of conventions use it and you can keep up with the schedule and whatnot. I wasn't even aware that they were using the app until I came across a door, and I believe this door, I saw this door like Saturday, and they posted, oh, by the way, if you need the schedule, you can click on here, because there wasn't like a pamphlet or anything. And I kind of get it. Maybe that's because of the pandemic. Maybe it's to save a little money. I'm not sure. But I wasn't aware of this until Saturday, and Friday had already passed, obviously. So the only thing I really had to go off of was a Facebook post that had a copy of the initial schedule. I believe that some times had changed. I was completely unaware of this, and I did in fact miss a panel. I still don't know if the panel was canceled or if I just went to the wrong room. I wasn't sure, but yeah, I missed the panel due to this, and it just would have been nice to know ahead of time that they were on Fanguru. So I actually had a moment to talk to the executive director of AnimeOklahoma, and his name's Javier, and he was a really cool dude. I really appreciate him taking the time just explaining to me some of the things that happened with AzumiCon and some of the things that he's trying to work out with AnimeOklahoma. It was very insightful. The simple fact that he has worked with bigger conventions and is choosing to come to Oklahoma to rebuild what was lost with Azumi is just very commendable on his part. I really hope he succeeds, because Oklahoma City definitely has a great scene here.
So this place has reminded me of why I got into it, right? It separated the professional side of doing these massive shows like Anime Expo, New York Comic Con, and then why I got into it. Because what it was is I kind of had forgotten why I got into it. So this place will always have a special place in my heart, because it reminded me as a kid why I started doing things.
It kind of brings me into my next point, which is why I still go to small conventions despite going to big ones. And just so you are aware, my first convention was A-Kon 2000. So that means my exposure was a huge convention, but I think most people do not have the same reaction, which my reaction was, okay, this was pretty awesome, and I just want to go to all types of conventions. So at the time, I believe the next year, there was a super small convention called RoninCon. This might have been 2001, and it was in Oklahoma City, and A-Kon is obviously in Dallas. So I went to this convention, very low-key, significantly smaller numbers, but I actually had a really good time. It's just a totally different vibe. you bump into people a lot more frequently, and you just talk and get to know people a lot more. You bump into them way more. I think for a lot of people, that's not the case for them. I think most people, what ends up happening is that if they experience a big convention at the first time, that's where their standard is. And they don't want to go lower than that. And I, to be honest with you, I kind of get it. But it's just a different vibe when you go to smaller conventions because you will bump into the same people over and over, and you start having conversations even with complete strangers. I remember one time, this was, I believe, RonanCon, and I kept bumping into this Link, and it was like we kept going to the bathroom at the same time, and I was like, son, Link, we gotta quit meeting up like this, man. This is ridiculous. We keep going to the bathroom in sync. It's making me awkward, man. I would say probably 2/3 of the people that I used to attend conventions with, they don't go to conventions anymore. And then the ones that do, they are definitely more attracted to going to like a Comic-Con because they can meet actual celebrities and huge, massive AAA stars, which I totally get the appeal of that. But smaller conventions, especially if it's in your area, it's in your city, you're helping your community. And especially with the pandemic and everything, that's exactly what all of our communities need. They need our support. And this is a good way to do it because it helps a lot of businesses throughout the area. And this is probably a little more of a personal opinion than an actual fact. But I do also feel like when it comes to a lot of bigger conventions, it's probably a little harder, especially when you get to the Comic-Con status and everything. It's a lot harder for local artists to get even noticed or get any kind of recognition. So I feel like when you have a smaller convention, there's less distractions and you're able to support people within your own community. And I'll be honest with you, like I said, I'm actually not from Oklahoma City, so I'm actually from a smaller city. And if my city had something even remotely close to AzumiCon or an AnimeOklahoma, I would most certainly support it. And I just want to say this too, that I understand that there's some people, they go to conventions for a couple of years and then they're done. I don't like using this terminology, but we're going to go ahead and say it. Some people grow out of it, just like some people grow out of video games or grow out of comic books or whatever. And in my case, I just keep going because something's wrong with me. But the thing is that it's good that you go to, like I said, these local things because it's convenient, it's inexpensive. You can save a whole heck of a lot more money if you go to these local things. And especially if this is your starting point and you've never been to a convention, I highly recommend you to start off small because then you'll kind of get an idea of the vibe and you'll see if, okay, is this something that interests me where I want to be away from home for a couple of days, go to panels or go to a dealer's room. And I also understand that some people, they can only afford to go to one convention a year. And what I'm saying is that maybe instead of thinking of going to 2 Comic-Cons, maybe you could go to one big one and you could go to 2 little ones. I mean, that's the way I would approach it sometimes. And like I said, some of my best times were actually going to smaller conventions because, like I said, conversations happen more. In the bigger conventions, there's so much going on. You're going to miss a crap ton of stuff. And you really don't have time to like link up with new people or make new friends because there's so much going on. There's so many people, it's crowded. You're just pushing through the crowd. So less conversations are happening. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Please let me know in the comment section how you feel about going to small conventions or even conventions period at all. And some of you mofos are lucky because you're in a big city. You're in New York. You're in Los Angeles. So you have a lot of options. Be grateful. No, really. Be grateful. Please let me know in the comment section down below if you want me to continue to make convention-related content. And like I said, I will link down below a video I think that is good for people that have never been to conventions and how to prepare for them. It's an old as hell video, but it's still solid. I think there's still a lot of good information in that. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.
Nice.
difficult to kind of reshuffle and rebalance everything, which I think we did this year. We have a very high conversion rate with families coming to this convention that have never been before.
I have seen lots of families, and that's been super fun.
Please stand up if your cherry was popped at this convention. First timer.
Yeah,
First timers. Stand up, first timers. First timers. Oh, look, he ran over here so you can stand up.